Hey everybody. I don't even know what to talk about. I see things and it makes my mind go to stirring. But when I look at things, I can see it from multiple perspectives sometimes. It's not a this or that thing or a this perspective or that perspective being right or wrong over the other. It's just a different way of looking at the same scenario. Then my mind tends to ramble, so it goes on all kind of tangents. But anyway. But looking at the aspects of ourselves that are not so pretty, doing some of that self reflection in the process. I've been through a lot in my life. So, in that, there are aspects of yourself that develop to deal with different environments differently. Part of that's just growing up. I mean, as a child, you might just blurt out things. Children will say some things that hurt your feelings. Hurt your feelings. If an adult said that, you might handle it different. But they're children and they're innocent and they just speaking their mind. They don't think to filter themselves, haven't grown up enough to filter themselves. As an adult, we have to learn to do that to some extent. Sometimes we do that so much till we deny parts of ourselves. You know, being overly nice. But nice isn't really nice. It's just a facade sometimes. But try not to be intentionally unkind. Finding that balance. I said before, our life always seeks for balance. We have to be able to balance the light and the dark within ourselves. Balance. I find that sometimes I swing from one extreme to the other, finding that middle ground. Sometimes I don't say anything when I need to speak up. People develop the belief that I am somehow naive or I am weak because I choose not to engage or choose to see things from a certain perspective. Sometimes that serves me, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's stepping into a part of myself that's really a traumatized part, and so I'm reacting from that place, but it's a disempowered place. But learning to speak up for myself and being able to assert myself without being unkind or overly harsh. That balance. So there was a party. Somebody asked me if I was going to it, and I said no. And then they asked why. I realized now the prudent answer would have been just to say, well, I don't want to. The temptation is to come up with some lies of why you can't go, so people just let it go. But I didn't do that. I might have went a little too far on the outside. It was a little too honest. I said I don't want to. That's my personal time, and I don't want to spend it with people that I don't really know. I don't want to do that with my personal time. Like I ain't trying to do that, and it's inconvenient for me. And they said, well, it's right here, and I said, well, that's inconvenient for me, and it's not an inconvenience I feel is worth it to make. Now, I wasn't being dishonest. I didn't say anything wrong, but people can take things and get all but hurt and get nasty about it because you was just honest. But maybe finding some balance in that honesty, should probably just left it with, I don't want to. Might have caused me less drama going forward. I mean, there's a level of honesty I really could have said, I don't like spending time with people, they get all funny and you just don't acknowledge it. So, but they really being funny. And the temptation is to match that energy. But I have to be careful with that. especially when you're dealing with like professional environments, matching people's energy. Those same people will come at you a certain way, but when you match that and meet that, oh, they'll go crying their little eyes out, big crocodile tears, acting like you've just been so hurtful. But anyway, think about all these things. Maybe think about that balance with itself. You know, I can be just as toxic. I am quite capable of matching nasty energy with nasty energy. I'm quite capable of that. I choose not to. It's a choice. It doesn't mean it's not because I can't. Not always something I necessarily want to look at or acknowledge within myself. Don't know that it serves me not to. I've had to tell people before, you on a job, work with this guy, and it always amused him to cause chaos and conflict. He's like one of those people that like to do things and openly acknowledges it. It's like putting a ant on a pin and watching it squirm. He's one of those type people. I remember telling him, I said, please understand that I came from dysfunction. I understand what it's like, and I know how to engage and survive in it. And do we really want to kick up Melinda's not nice tendencies? Because I'm quite capable of being just as toxic and nasty as you are being to me right now. Is that really what we want to do? Not even the first job I had to say that to. But like I said, then they go to crying, foul, butt hurt. Had a manager corner me in a bathroom one time and issue a not so subtle threat. And I had to tell her, I said, this little game you play, I'm quite capable of playing this game you play. Is that really what you're asking me to do? Because I will do it so much better. If I had chose to use my intelligence in that same toxic manner that you choose to, you would not like the outcome. Oh, she went all over the office telling everybody how I had told her this and that. But she ain't tell nobody what it was that instigated me telling her what I had to tell her. That's why my friend says go to work and show these people who you are. I had to be careful. The way I dealt with people at home sometimes was to match that energy. That toxic energy they brought to me, I would match and meet that. They didn't like that. So typically what they would do is adjust their behavior so that they got the better aspect of me. When I first moved into the house, I wouldn't do it. But I learned very quickly that people do not understand kindness sometimes. They are so accustomed to abuse dynamics in nasty competitiveness that isn't healthy, that they don't understand gentleness and kindness. They don't understand it. They take it for weakness. And they will take it too far. So I learned very quickly to match energy, to let them know that I was capable of it. Just enough to let them know I can meet you there. They generally chose that was not something that they would prefer to do with me. So that was how I navigated that. You're a little hesitant at work because, like I said, people like to cry foul when you match them for what they bring to you. But it's not because I'm not capable of it. So often I've denied that within myself. Like I said, a healthy balance, though. You need that light and that dark. You need a little grit to deal with some of the toxic energies in this world. And it doesn't mean you have to be unkind, but you need just enough of it to be able to survive in this world amongst dangerous people. You have to be able to navigate and to handle yourself, that balance within. But looking at it, so often I've recognized certain dynamics as not healthy. So I didn't want to engage in it. I had judgments about it. But I realized I was really just judging parts of myself, hiding them away. It's not because they don't exist. I don't cuss a lot on here, but if you know me in my personal life, I have a mouth on me when I choose to. Be quite foul-mouthed. It's not an aspect of me that you see on here. not intentional. It's just not necessary sometimes. But I can be quite that way. Just think about all the aspects within self. There was a young man and we were in a group together. And, this was not a group with a lot of people with a lot of healthy dynamics. We were not there because we had healthy dynamics. But he was talking about a young lady and he saw her as much purer than himself. But like I say, trauma, households, and backgrounds breed certain dynamics within people. A codependent has some narcissistic tendencies, and a narcissist has some codependent tendencies, and they tend to be attracted to one another. So he saw her as quite good. But as he described the dynamic, I understood parts of this young woman he was describing and understood that she was not all innocent. I am hardly innocent. So I remember pointing out to him that there were dynamics that existed in both of them that weren't healthy, and it wouldn't serve him to just completely demonize himself and then jealousize her, because there were some things going on that weren't right on both sides. But I remember the group leader kind of shaking her head, letting me know like that wasn't something this young man was willing to look at yet. And that might not be something to continue to share with him. And I understood. I could intuitively feel exactly what she meant. This is something that he will have to learn on his own. Even in relationships that I've been in that were abusive, I have some unhealthy tendencies, and there are some energies I can match in not a nice way. I usually temper myself. It is never my intention to be unkind, but I can more than match certain types of energies. I went through some hardships and shut those parts of myself away, and I don't know why. There's strengths in those parts. I don't know where or why that I would need to shut them away. There were other aspects of myself, traumatized parts that were awoken by going through some trauma. The situation that I was going through in my day-to-day living at the time brought up some very traumatized parts of myself that hadn't been looked at, didn't have to be known or seen. They were so deeply embedded as to be something I was unaware of. But all of those things came up for me, and I had to become aware of them and to struggle to fight with all of these parts of myself and which one would dominate in a situation. It always kind of depended on the environment, I guess, and the people I was dealing with. It got so bad at one point I couldn't tell you who I was, how I felt about certain things. The discrepancies within myself were so extreme. Integration process has been a process. But there's parts of me that are more than capable of dealing with people. But like I say, gotta be careful. There's that part of myself that can be quite direct and maybe a little too honest. And what people will do with that, the defense, and God forbid you see some part of them that they did not wish to be seen. You will be amazed at what people will do when they don't want certain parts of themselves to be seen, when they're trying to hide the not nice parts of themselves to present an image. The lengths that people will go to, the way they will malign your name and your reputation in order to protect that nasty aspect within self. It doesn't serve us. We all need to look at those parts. I'd rather deal with someone who is openly hostile and dangerous than to deal with someone who is dangerous and hostile and cloaking it in a veil of niceness. At least with a dangerous person who is openly dangerous and letting you know quite well that they are dangerous, at least you know what you're dealing with. Ain't no surprises. They not doing sneak attacks. They letting you know exactly what they're going to do and how they're going to do it, and they make no bones about it. They're a lot easier to deal with in some aspects than people that hide it. Cloaking it in niceness. Like I said, the lengths that people will go to hide parts of themselves to try to seem a way in which they are not. It can be quite nasty. But anyway, rambling as I usually do, reflecting, thinking of things. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Talk to you later.